I suppose that I could give you a few examples of what happens to people when the lockdowns are in situ. I mean, I can just give you one example of a lady who was cooking her dinner and realised that she hadn't got all the ingredients that she needed for the dinner, hopped into her car, went down to the local shops. When she tried to get back into the area, she realised she hadn't got her pass to get back into the area, and she was queried for over three quarters of an hour by a guard and a steward at the barriers, while her house was nearly burning down at the same time. Her kitchen went on fire and she had major problems in the thing. She actually had to go and run past the guard and leave her car behind her to get back into her home because of the amount of aggression she was getting at the car because she hasn't a pass to get into her own home. I mean, that sort of a situation can happen. I'm not saying that that's happening all the time, but it's just one example of what can happen. Another example was another young lady. She had a premature baby in hospital. She was told, could she come back to the hospital immediately? She got into her car and came out to the barrier and said, listen, I have to get through, I want to leave the area. And a steward told her, I'm sorry, you can't leave the area at the moment. It's not time for you to go yet. We have a lot of people on the road at the minute, so therefore you're going to have to stay until the big crowds are over and then we can let you out. And she said, I'm telling you now, I'll drive over the barriers if I have to get to my child. And so there was a big hullabaloo. She wasn't, it took her a half an hour to get herself out of the area. Instead of getting a police escort out of the area, she was being arrested for trying to get out of the area. Another young man, one of our members of the club that I'm involved in, which is the handball centre, was coming into the area. He hadn't a ticket for a match. He was coming in, he was carrying a few beers to bring home to watch the match at home. He ended up being arrested at the barriers and told that he wasn't coming into the area with any drink, even though he was going to his own home. And he was locked up in a cell until 9 o'clock that night. And that's the sort of a situation that can happen. And it's not just in the lockdown area, it's actually outside of the area becomes absolutely mad with traffic because the people who can't get into the lockdown area start parking all over the place, with the result that they're parking in people's drives, in front of people's drives, they're parking up on paths. If anyone had a blind person in the area, on the place where I live here, a gentleman parked actually in my drive, and unfortunately he thought he was parking in someone else's drive, a friend of his. He was from Cork, but he got the address wrong. And these things are happening. I'll just give you another example for concerts. One couple of young guys came out and they were worse aware for a drink, and they thought it was very funny by peeing in someone's letterbox. Now that's the sort of thing, and the local residents now, when there's concerts on, have impromptu parties in their own gardens so they can stay outside of their house and watch what's happening in the area and stop people coming in and trespassing on their homes and things like that. So there's a huge amount of problems that come and vandalism with cars and things like that's happening all the time in the area. So it's something that is very difficult to police.
Okay, I would just like to ask you, just about the cars. I mean, I've heard that there's serious impact on the damage to people's cars and property that's outside their homes, so there could be insurance problems, and is that the case you found in the past?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of scratching on cars. One Egypt ran up on the top of someone's bonnet and ran over their roof and left the whole car damaged. Lost or no claims bonus, went to the Crow Park and said, listen, this happened while there was a concert on. What are you going to do about it? And they were told by Crow Park, I'm sorry, it's nothing to do with us, you'll have to talk to the authorities. You know, so I mean, there's huge impacts on everything that happens in the area.
It's another aspect. I remember we were told that the GA said they would get bus runs and get people out of the areas and take them away for day bus runs and all this situation when these events are held. That's by what you've said, that maybe it's not a very wise thing to do.
Well, it's a very difficult situation when the lockdowns are on, because sometimes the crowds will come in gluts, and so the whole area gets completely clogged up with cars. So nobody can get in or out. You know, even if you have a pass, it's very difficult to get into your own home because there's huge gridlock happens. You know, and it's not just for while the concerts are on. For days prior to the concerts taking place, you have all the big lorries coming into the area, setting up all the stadium and doing all the rest of the work. So there's major problems, not just while concerts, but all the way through the week. You have major problems.
There's one of the things springs to mind. I am aware that recent One Direction concert, that the impact was not just on the area of maybe 2 or 3 miles. I'm told it was actually the whole of Dublin was affected by that traffic chaos that took place over that weekend. Would that be correct?
Oh, absolutely. The whole of Dublin City closed down practically. It was gridlock all over the place. I mean, it's crazy. And then we have 5 Gareth Brooks concerts taking place. And 2 of these concerts are going to be on weeknights, not weekend nights, which people are coming from work, trying to get into work. So it'll be a major problem because of that. And I don't think anyone has thought through the impact on the city on the nights when people are coming and going from work. At least on weekends, a lot of people are off work, so the impact may not be just as great. But certainly on working nights, it's going to be a major problem.